So the adventures start at a perch lake that I found recently. I didn't know that we had perch in Hawke's Bay in any real numbers, so this was a big surprise to me. Before heading up to this lake, I was quietly confident I could put a few on the bank. After having a pretty poor morning, catching no fish, not even seeing one, I headed round to the other side of the lake and I ended up actually finding one.
I didn't even see him. He's a big perch too. Stumble upon a random fish just hanging out up here. And he's a nice big one too.
Later on in the day, I stumbled upon a really big perch sitting right in shallow.
You watch this. There's one cruising along the ledge looking for food. Let's see what we can do with this fish. Watch this, you'll see this. Bang! Straight away. Get down there. He's a fat one. He's got a belly on him, this one. There you go, buddy. I didn't think he was that big when I first cast to him.
The rest of the day sort of went by pretty smoothly, had a bite to eat and then headed round the other side of the lake to finish the day off. Now I wasn't really expecting that many more perch, and I was sadly mistaken, because when I made my final few casts in the final bay, the fish just started coming one after the other.
That's a bit better. And you go, oh. There's two there. Bang. There's one. I want it so bad. Oh, we got it. Look at that.
I quickly had two to the bank, and it was less than 300 meters of shoreline to go, and I just kept hooking fish. The highlight for me was the two perch that were fighting over the lure, and I ended up catching both of them one after the other in about 3 casts. Awesome. So after that session, I hadn't really been out on the salt in a while, and my mate Ruben, who's just got a new extreme boat, decided to invite me out, and I had my first experience on a really nice big boat.
Definite met your old bane. He's gonna go over the net. Yeah. Oh, he's a fat fish, that one. Jesus.
I need to put some rum.
It's fat for its length. A few months and they're fat again.
Oh, very good. Excellent.
Look at the size of the tail on the thing.
So between that period, we sort of had 2 weeks of really poor weather. Eventually I sort of just went, well, I got to go out and do something now. The weather sort of came right. I wasn't too keen on kayaking anymore, as we have spiny dogfish well and truly moved in by now. I decided to head to the wharf and catch a few small fish and just sort of have a relaxing day. I took a mate along and we had a little competition to see who could catch the most species. We ended up with 5 species each: spotty, triple fin, yellow-eyed mullets, jack mackerel, and even small trevally too. So after that awesome little session at the wharf, sort of thought about what I was going to do for the rest of the week and decided on heading up to Tutera. Eventually I got some attention and a big fish lined up the lure and I was on. This fish shot out into the lake and pulled harder than I have probably ever have had on a trout on spin. It just kept going and going and going and going. Didn't stop. I think he probably took 50 meters off me. I was well into the capacity of the reel, starting to get a bit worried on line capacity, which normally isn't too much of a problem on trout, but yeah, this fish wasn't slowing down anytime soon. Finally, after I put a bit of pressure onto the spool, got the fish to slow down, and I began to lead it back towards the shore. So I just apply the extra pressure with my hand onto the spool and let the fish go when it wants. So this fish came into view, and I mean, I was expecting a big spawning rainbow. It's pretty normal up there. To my absolute surprise, it's a big brown trout. Now, I've been hunting one of these for, wow, 3 years. Seen them over the years, but I've never even been close to getting a hook into one. I've had a couple of follows, that's about it. Got in the net and had a look at him. Absolutely beautiful fish. I then put him back in the water and he swam off. Quite interesting thing to note, my mate Aaron caught this fish 2 days before I did. It was on the Saturday that he caught it, and it was a Monday when I caught him. So yeah, we had a look at the spots, same fish. And right after that, I hooked into a big hen. The hook ended up pulling out and going into the top of the fish, so I quickly let her go. Right there, away you go. Go do your thing. If you do foul hook a fish, even if it pulls out and goes into the rear of the fish needs to be released straight away, so that's what I did. So recently, I went up to the Twin Lakes, right up in the mountains, because our fishing season has just closed on all of our tributaries. I walked in to the lake, very, very cold conditions, about 6 degrees, even in full sunlight. I was just heading in to see if I couldn't find a brown for the middle of winter up there. I've never fished it in the middle of winter, so it's going to be pretty interesting to see if I could actually catch one. I noticed the lake level was about a metre higher than I've previously fished it, so it's right up almost into the trees. So I made my way around the lake and couldn't find any fish anywhere. There were a couple of rises out in the middle of the lake, but nothing really going on. So I had a sneaking suspicion that these fish were elsewhere. And well, in a little landlocked lake like this, there's not really much else place to go other than the little creek. So I headed up the other end and had a quick look. Eventually I stumbled upon a little tail, just moving backwards and forwards, and there's a brown, and then there's another one. There was a fair amount of fish up here, and this is a small creek. So I headed out pretty chuffed with looking at some of these fish. Didn't catch any. Obviously, there weren't very many in the lake. There would have been the odd one, but just wasn't much activity. Very cold. So that's about it from what I've been up to in the past sort of couple of months. I haven't really fished that much over June, but I'm hoping to get back out on the salt soon. But other than that, I'm signing off from the river. This has been Skwidy once again, and I hope you all enjoyed this little video of what I've been up to over the past couple months. Before I go, I'd like to give a huge shout out to Reese over on Patreon, who is now a part of the Snapper tier of supporters. You're an absolute legend, mate. If you're interested in supporting the channel more than just a subscription, head over to my Patreon. The link is in the description. Perks of supporting the channel is having your name shown at the end of every future post, plus having full access to bonus Patreon content. Cheers everyone, and I hope to see you out on the water soon.